what's your favorite strategy when it comes to running YouTube ads successfully?
Well, the biggest mistake everybody makes, well, not everybody, but those that are doing it properly, set the goals before they start. And if you know exactly what your budget is, what you're trying to achieve, and not think that it's going to be a magic bullet from day one. You know, the expectations are, yes, a lot of people, you know, work on Facebook and they've got a sort of funnel built where they are getting a sort of a predictable cost per lead. When you first go into YouTube, and I've said this before in the other interview if they've watched that, but remarketing is your go-to strategy to begin with, because those people that have already seen your business, been on your website, been on your other social profiles, interacted with other video, if you use remarketing with YouTube, it is effectively free, or free to an extent, because people get to watch the first 29 seconds as a true view, and if they skip, you don't pay. So you can pretty much be omnipresent in front of your audience day in, day out for next to nothing, and that's the game. So from a perspective of where do you start, and number one tip, it is the best piece of remarketing you will ever do.
Perfect. Yeah, because I'm sure lots of people that are obviously watching this, I'm sure the majority of them actually are running Facebook ads right now, not YouTube ads. They maybe got this because they want to learn more about YouTube ads. They maybe started a bit. So yeah, maybe you also know, guys, that when I started, I was mainly doing Facebook ads. Then now I'm doing mainly YouTube ads, just because the quality of the people that watch YouTube ads is just much higher. You know, they go on YouTube to find a solution to their problems. They just don't go on Facebook just to, you know, be entertained and maybe see what their partners are doing, spying on their partners or other stuff. So YouTube is obviously the second largest search engine platform in the world. So you have to be doing YouTube ads. So what are the biggest mistakes that you see people making when they decide to do YouTube ads?
Well, I think the first mistake people make is they think they have to have an active YouTube channel. So, you know, somebody says, right, let's do YouTube. And I've made this mistake myself, you know, putting out in front of brands our big presentation. And then at the end of the presentation, the brand manager sort of says, well, but we don't have really any content on YouTube. Or they're thinking that there's a massive commitment in terms of having to upload videos daily, weekly, you know, coming up with creative ideas. Literally, to get going on YouTube ads, you need a channel, a Google Ads account, and one video, and you're away. And you can use that video as an advert or an information piece or an educational piece. But, you know, thinking that you have to have loads of commitment to YouTube and be uploading regularly, that's the first mistake.
Yeah, and also, I would say lots of people want to know maybe the difference between Facebook and YouTube especially. But what I also found out, not only the cost, but on Facebook, you get banned so easily. Also I've had a Facebook ad account. I probably spent over £300,000, never did anything wrong, didn't touch the campaigns for months. And then just all of a sudden, my ad account gets shut down. I didn't change anything. So this doesn't really happen often on YouTube, right?
That must be the most frustrating thing. I wrote what I think is one of the best Facebook ads managers courses in the world. You know, we took a lot of the courses that are out there 3, 4, 5 years ago, paid loads of bucks to take those courses, and we sort of thought, well, you know, a lot of what's getting sent out here is standard. And we applied a lot of what we already learned and put that into a course. And we were running Facebook ads for lots of people. And then you're spending, say, 20, 30K a month. And then the account gets banned, like you say, for no reason whatsoever. And if anybody can actually tell me that answer of what's going on, I'll be, you know, my personal opinion is Facebook's running out of ad space.
Inventory, yeah.
Running out of inventory. But plus, they want to drive the cost per 1,000 views up continually. Of course they do. They want more revenue for the space that they've got. And by pulling certain accounts, when you then start again, it costs you more. And you see that ad cost creep and creep and creep. And they're testing where people are pulling their budgets and seeing how much they can squeeze you before you do pull out. But then when it's overly competitive in certain markets, they just ban accounts for no reason whatsoever, which is incredibly frustrating. I've been working on accounts where day one, one day, somebody's getting 3-4 times ROI on an account that's spending 2 or 3K a day, and it's their lifeblood of their business, and that's amazing return. Next day they're out of business.
Yeah.
So you're completely reliant on somebody faceless at Facebook that presses a button or a bot that turns you off, and there's nothing or nobody you can speak to. You can't, it's not as if you can phone them up and get somebody to sort it. You can you end up putting in an appeal, and that gets knocked back, and another appeal, and 3 or 4 days later, still nothing's happening. And then you spin up another ads account to get back on, and you're sort of back to square one. But yes, people can get ads accounts suspended on Google for their YouTube. It's very, very rare.
Yeah.
You have to be in breach of lots of different. You do get ads suspended. Individual ads will get pulled quite a lot, where you might have used a piece of copyrighted music, or there was a domain mismatch, or it was construed that you used certain words within an ad that obviously you can't run ads with certain words in at the moment, and I'll not mention those words because I don't want these videos to get pulled. But I think we know what we're all talking about. But I've had it seems a bit random, but like one of the ads that we put out for our own business recently, it was pulled for political content, and it had nothing political in it whatsoever. But it was simply a case of clicking appeal, and within 24 hours the ad was back on. So they do seem a lot more responsive at Google. There's a bigger team, I think, that are handling those sort of complaints. Facebook is getting very frustrating, iOS 14 and everything. But also I think most people don't know that not all the days, but on YouTube, for example, you don't pay anything if people skip your ads before 30 seconds. So your brand awareness, visibility, goes through the roof. It's for free. And there are so many benefits, right? Well, for me, it is frustrating paying cost per 1,000 impressions when that impression can be 3 seconds. In Facebook, and I have been accused, right? I have been accused in the past of being a Facebook basher. Facebook, it does do a fantastic job in the right circumstances and with the right campaigns. But when somebody's getting charged to show 3 seconds of an ad, when somebody's scrolling past, that I think is that's tight. That's not really advertising. And that's why YouTube use the phrase true view, in that you have had somebody watch for 30 seconds before you're charged. So, let's caveat that. They can be watching within the first 29 seconds. If they click through to your site, yes, you still will be charged. But that first 29 seconds, if they skip, it's free.
Yeah, I think nowhere else you can get this. No. I don't know if it's going to stay like this forever, but obviously for now, so people should take advantage of it.
Well, I think they've nailed their colours to the mast, and I think the certain types of placements, obviously if you want to force people to watch, you get charged. You make it unskippable, you're going to get charged. But there is so much inventory available on YouTube.
That's the thing.
Hundreds and hundreds of hours of footage being uploaded every minute to the platform. There's that much content that you can't fill it with ads anyway.
Exactly. It's not like Facebook. There's only one feed and everything is there. It's like YouTube can be everywhere. There are obviously skippable ads, discovery, just images, discovery videos. Then obviously Google displays so many things you can do. So what are some of your top tips to run profitable YouTube ads?
So one thing you don't want to overlook is ranking your video. You know, when I met you first, Vince, we got to talk about how to rank videos on YouTube, and you got several of my videos to #1 on YouTube. And yes, you can take a pure advert approach, but I would say one of the top tips is make sure that you rank that video as well. Why not? You know, you're going to drive traffic to the video, which will drive engagement, which will help with ranking. Obviously, you need to specify the correct audience and make sure, you know, as you taught me, engagement is absolutely everything on YouTube ranking. So if you can get people to engage and the right audience, why wouldn't you get that video to come to the top of YouTube search as well while you're promoting it as an ad? But what we're also seeing in terms of SEO, and you know, I'm absolutely obsessed with SEO in the SEO industry. We are seeing those videos rank in Google really quickly. And if there's people listening to this and you're paying a lot of money for SEO, talk to Vince about how to rank your videos on YouTube, because the difference is, sorry to digress a sec, but this is a really important point. YouTube is the testing ground for main Google. So Google owns YouTube, but if in the example of we all sat here and we searched for barbecues right now, we'd probably all get a very similar search result. Depending on which country we're in, we'll probably get different results, and you'll see within that first page, those results will switch up a bit, right? But there's a limited number of searches for barbecues every month, right? What if Google wants to test which content works for barbecues? Well, it won't do that in main Google, but it will do that in YouTube, and it will serve up lots of different videos to lots of different people that are interested in a topic to test whether that video is engaging and good quality content. And this is where we're going to move into an era in the web where it is all about great quality creative and content, right? Not the rubbish that gets pumped out where you see stock footage with voiceover and a robot voice and all of that, right? None of that. That's not going to work anymore. But if you can get your video to rank on YouTube and the engagement sits there, it will rank really quickly in main Google. So why not tie your ad campaign into a ranking strategy to achieve both goals? Because those videos live forever. Right? I've seen, if you go and search on Google now, you'll see videos that have been at the top of search for 2, 3, 4, and in sometimes 5 or more years, they're sat there at the top of search. And think how many leads those generate for people, because you're the authority. So tying ads back into ranking is really important. And I talk about it a lot, the fact that Google sees video content as the bridge between search, text-based search, and answer engines. And the only thing Google is afraid of is Alexa, right? Alexa, Cortana, Bixby, Siri, these are the only things that Google thinks can put it out of business. Because in 3 or 4 years' time, if we're all searching with our voices instead of typing, Google is suddenly 1 of 5 or 6 rather than 1 on its own. But Google will win because it wants to rank video. And the reason it uses video to test that is we will all engage at different rates. So in the barbecues example, Vince and I both search barbecue, but we both look at the videos in different ways and we both watch different amounts. And we would settle on the one, Google would be able to tell which video we preferred and serve that content to us. And that is where the video is answering the question. And that's where video is going to sit as the bridge between traditional search and AEO. So yeah, sorry to digress a bit. I think you asked me what my other top tips were. The other thing to make sure you're doing with YouTube ads is not sitting it in a silo. So if you silo your marketing efforts or you put all your eggs in one basket, time after time we see people relying on one thing. And this is one of what you've been talking about now, is people relying on Facebook as, you know, their only source of leads or course sales or new business. And they're sat there with, you know, if that goes down, I've had it, right? I've been talking to lots of brands recently about them wanting to spread the risk and also have other, what we would call big levers. You know, I was speaking to someone this week. He's got a massive worldwide TV campaign going. It does amazingly well for their brand, right? But he sees YouTube as another opportunity, another big lever. And within that, I think where people, they don't take advantage of having all of these channels working together. And a lot of the time we've worked with brands where, yeah, we've got somebody who takes care of our Facebook and Instagram. We've got an agency that does TikTok for us. You know, we've got a web agency, we've got this, and now we want to do YouTube. And I'll say, right, introduce me to all these other agencies, because we need to work together to remarket to all of this traffic. And time after time, we see people working in silos, nobody's talking and helping. But when you do get that magic to happen and you get people being able to collaborate and not compete, you know, we're not here to compete with agencies. We want to work with people as a specialist.
Yeah.
When that happens, you probably get 3 or 4 times the result that you would do if you just all, you know, you leave people in their lane, let them get on with it. And that's, in my opinion, that's the worst thing you can do. You know, not bring it all into one funnel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. Like, and then becoming omnipresent, and also that's the key now. Like, you cannot really rely on one platform anymore. So I was curious, actually, what are your favorite campaigns to run on YouTube? Like in stream, skippable, non-skippable, discovery, display. Like, what are your favorites one?
It depends what your goal is. You know, in-stream is probably the best for generating click-throughs, whereas discovery really does drive views, brand awareness, because you don't have the same calls to action in a discovery ad as you would do in an in-stream ad. So in-stream, you're interrupting somebody's viewing. Yeah. We don't tend to use the bumpers very much. I prefer it to use what I would say is a pattern interrupt. So somebody's been watching a particular, it doesn't even have to be on topic. So some of the things we'll talk about in a minute is, you know, going after particular keywords and competitors and building audiences and all those sort of things. But if somebody's watching a video and has in the last 7 days searched for a particular keyword, been on a particular website, and then your ad comes in and the hooks are right, as an in-stream ad, that works really well. Discovery-wise, in terms of building authority, building subscribers, building a channel and a brand, works amazingly well. So when people are searching for particular things and then your video is being found, that can drive enormous numbers of new subscribers to channels. But then obviously you've got to work on how you convert those subscribers into business. Yeah.
And then now I also want to obviously talk about the IDAR system, because for you guys watching this is a system that can save you up to, or even more than 15% of your ad budget. So tell us more about how the IDAR system works.
So IDAR, I built it 3 years ago, and it was primarily built because we were managing massive display campaigns, and you know, in the PPC industry, and I think, look, if we step back a sec, right, and see the trouble with people stepping over from Facebook to Google is a beast, right? The tools within that back end, if you think that Facebook's complicated, multiply that by 20, right? And I've been in, you know, I live inside that, you know, that interface, and I've used that for 20 years for millions of pounds worth of spend. And I'm still learning every day. Like, I'm afraid when I go and present to really big brands, there's always somebody who knows something that you don't know within Google Ads, or people have got their own flavor or style of running, PPC campaigns.
Yeah.
And just be careful, because there are lots of tools in there that will just spend your budget in a blink of an eye. And when we were running these big display campaigns with IDAR, without IDAR, you had to manually go and trim or run rules or scripts to clean placements. Now, the display network goes pretty much everywhere, depending on what you choose in terms of parameters. And you can even go into the App Store. If you want to start serving ads into the App Store and get that to convert, good luck with that. That's a whole ball game in itself. But we built the system to automatically trim and improve campaigns and take out placements that weren't working. We should mention that it stands for intelligence-driven ad results. So it's effectively, a lot of people would like to say it's programmatic or it's AI. If somebody was marketing it as a piece of software for sale, they'd all be saying, "Oh, it's AI." Well, effectively, all of these systems are human intelligence. They are the parameters that somebody like me sets when they set a campaign up. But moreover, once you look at those campaigns and you dive into what's working and what's not, and you make adjustments going forwards, that's what a good ads manager will be doing, is making all those adjustments. Well, we found that making that number of adjustments on a daily basis to campaigns was just practically impossible without hundreds of staff. So I wrote a tool. It happened to then become IDAR, which trims and improves and tests and learns, and that feeds out a heads up data display to us in terms of what's working and what's not. And look, we love that system because it does. Well, I've seen it. You said 15%. I've seen it save people 50% of a budget. So it's a great tool.
Crazy. So guys, you could see, obviously, we could go so deep into this topic, the YouTube ads, everything. But of course, if you want to know more about the IDAR system, but how also Simon can help me more about your YouTube ads, of course, there will be some link below. But also, Simon, if you want to tell people where they can find you the fastest way and they reach out to you.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, believe it or not. You can find me there. I make a lot of content to go out on LinkedIn. You might want to find me on our YouTube channel. That's reasonably easy to find, thanks to Vince. He's ranked a lot of our videos. There's the Facebook group that we've set up, YouTube Marketing Mastery. So by all means, go and join that. Or you can just come through to the website, which is www.s.media. So it's a single character domain. If you come through to that and inquire through there, or you can email me directly, simon@s.media. But I think, Vince, you wanted to talk through a few of the other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want people to know this. And also, guys, Simon is now, at the time of recording this, his book is going to come out. So you're going to find the link under this video as well, obviously, about YouTube ads and all YouTube. So some other top tips for the guys.
So the book won't be available till mid-year. It's still with the publishers at the moment, so it's being edited at the moment. But maybe the people that watch this and join your course, we could offer them some sort of discount for the book, probably. Getting into a few of the tips, I'll try and rattle through them. But if you want to jump in, Vince, and ask deeper questions, let's do that.
Sure.
If you're somebody that's on Facebook, the first thing to do is run the remarketing with YouTube and get stuck into that. But be careful not to use the maximize conversions goal to begin with, because YouTube can swallow your budget really, really quickly. Patience is the biggest virtue in YouTube ads. So thinking that it's a magic bullet, and we see this all the time, like within all the forums, and I'm a member of most of the big groups. I've done most of the big courses on YouTube. I'm in touch with most of the gurus. We try and develop tactics ourselves, but you continually see I've switched my campaign on and nothing's happened. Or 3 days later, I've only had 12 impressions. Or my ads aren't serving. I've had no conversions. I've spent all my budget, right? Patience is the thing to set your goals and your expectations out clearly on paper, right? Or on a digital document. We use Google Sheets a lot, but before you do anything, write it all down. What you think is going to happen, what your assumptions are, what sort of percentage click-through rates you're expecting. And if anybody struggles with that, we can help you with. I'll gladly get on a call with anyone for 15-20 minutes and tell you this is what you need to be tracking. Do this. But don't be unrealistic. I see people saying, well, yeah, I get 20% conversion on my landing page. Do you really? Is that from cold traffic? What do you expect from cold traffic from YouTube? What different steps of your funnel have you got set up? So you do need to set a funnel up. And as I say, not work in a silo. I'm a Funnelytics user. There's plenty of other different tools out there that it can use. There's loads of ones that, there's some really cheap ones and good ones now that you can use. But if you set the funnel up correctly before you start and don't dive in, just setting an ad up and hoping, 3 days later I've turned it on and I'm going to get loads of orders. It doesn't work like that with Google. It needs to learn and set up Google Tag Manager, get that installed on your website, set the goals up within the Google Ads account and make sure that they're working, test them, right? Make sure you test them by previewing them in Tag Manager. Bring your audiences in from Google Analytics and your YouTube channel and other sources and watch those audiences grow. You can, if you're spending quite a lot, if you're a big spender, you can actually set up customer list audiences, which is, you won't be able to do that straight away on Google Ads because I think the minimum spend is about 50K before you can do that. But when you're at the start, set up the expectations, because then you can measure success or failure. And 9 times out of 10, the conversions come from somewhere you didn't expect. So don't be too focused on the audience. Don't be too niche. If you're coming back and saying, after 3 days I've got nothing, either your bid is too low, Google's trying to get you to spend more, or your audience is too narrow and it's just not serving. So those would be top tips in terms of building your initial campaigns. The other thing is, don't tinker. Don't be a fiddler. Don't be somebody who's like, and we all know this from Facebook, right? If you start fiddling with your campaigns after a couple of days, all that does is puts you back to square one. If you think of it as a game of snakes and ladders, 2 or 3 days in and you start changing bids and audiences and adjusting ads, you go straight back down that ladder, back to square zero. And Google knows that. And it's counterintuitive. So in terms of when you set your first ads up, I would probably leave them at least a week on a budget that you can afford, right? So you have to say to yourself, right, I can afford to lose all of this money and get no conversions over the next week. I'm not saying that'd happen, but you have to be prepared. So Google is like a game of poker. If you want to go all in on day one and push your entire budget on and spend it in 3 days, Google will take it. They're the dealer. They're in control. They've got the cards, right? So they will take it. And pay attention, because if you set, for example, a $50 a day budget on your ad group and nothing happens for 4 days, and then on day 5 it starts spending and you spend $10, and on day 6 it spends $20, suddenly on day 7 it might spend $300 because it saves your budget up as it goes along, right? So don't think that you've got your ad spend set on $50, it can't spend more than that, it will spend the majority of what you've saved up over those days. So I've seen people, jack their budgets up, nothing happens. 3 days later, they've spent $3,000 and they go, whoa, hold on a minute, what's happened here? And I was only spending 500 a day. But, well, don't worry, it will spend it. So be careful. One of the really little nifty tricks, and this is a bit of a sort of secret tactic that, we haven't put this out anywhere, is if you split your campaigns down into really small budgets to begin with, Google wants loads of people to get involved in YouTube ads, right? It wants to encourage people and it wants you to win. Now, if you put £100 a day into one campaign, yes, it will spend it, right? Over a period, right? It'll build up and eventually it'll be spending £100 a day. Will you get as good conversions from that as if you split that campaign into 5 campaigns of £20 a day? Probably not, because Google sort of says, oh, this is a new campaign, it's only small. If they don't get success, they're probably going to turn it off. So you've got to almost say to yourself, I want to trick Google into sort of saying that I'm new to this game and don't go too far and split. I would say, one of the tricks is split your budget into small chunks and let it learn. Then you'll see the winners. You'll see which of those campaigns win, and then you can put more budget into that particular one. And the real trick is that these campaigns take a good couple of months to really learn and understand the audiences. So I've talked about before where we've had campaigns run, and we've actually had some clients, they'll spend maybe 2,000 or 3,000 in a month, and the results haven't been great, and maybe then they've switched it off or they've turned it right down, maybe to just $5 or $10 a day at that point while they reevaluate what's happening. And that's happened quite a lot in lockdown because of people's budgets have been tight and people have been expecting results from campaigns straight away. Some people are desperate, and don't use YouTube ads as a fix. If it's not a desperation tactic, it is a long game. But what we found with that was, with the people that put in a couple of thousand and ran campaigns and they didn't necessarily work that well, when we paused those campaigns and came back to them 6 or 8 weeks later and ran the same campaign, Google rewarded us massively, right? It learned in the meantime, it continued to learn where the good placements were without spending, and probably better than if we'd actually run the campaign and scaled it. Google had then gone, right, oh, you're back, you want to spend again, right, now I'm going to actually help you more. And you then see those campaigns taking off really, really quickly. Now, what you mustn't do, and this applies to Facebook as well, is sit back on your laurels and think, I've cracked it, right? I've got a campaign that's like gold. It's amazing. I'm getting loads of conversions. They're a good cost. They're good quality. What you then see is normally 2 or 3 weeks into a campaign, especially just after a big spike in conversions. So you're now sat back going, yesterday was fantastic, right? 3 days later, you're going, the world's collapsed. What happened? What have I done wrong? And what you've actually probably done wrong is you've just not paid attention. You've not given Google any love, and you've not told Google, I'm going to give you a slap on the wrist, Google, because they are there to open your wallet, right? You are in a battle, right? You are there fighting with Google, who are, if you leave your wallet open, don't worry, they'll empty it quicker than you can blink, right? So you need to pay attention. And this is part of the reason I exist, is we are here to pay attention to campaigns and make sure that they don't fall off a cliff. But, if you're not dealing with someone at our level, the trick then is to, when you see those spikes, it's a bit like trading stocks and shares. When you see that spike, if you duplicate the campaign out at that point and to a lower level and let that one start learning, you'll see where campaign 1 starts dropping off, and then you switch on campaign 2, it's already learned, and then you get that rocket ship effect again. You get another good 7 to 10 days out of it before you start seeing it fall off again. And we all know if you leave a campaign alone for 4 weeks, you'll come back and it's not going to be performing as well as it was. And some people just accept the fact that, well, maybe I've worn that audience out. Maybe you have worn that audience out. You've got to look at how big the audience is. Can you scale it? Google will normally be then telling you your campaign is limited by budget. That is also another one of their please click here to spend more signals. Now, within that, they will tell you how far you can probably scale. Pay attention to the numbers that are on that screen. Write them down, right? Because you're not going to get to see them again. So when Google goes, we can scale this like this for you. If you're spending $50 a day now on this campaign, we recommend you to spend $300 a day, and we think it will do this. Now, write that number down that they are telling you they're going to get you for that spend, because don't worry, they won't show you that screen again. That promise is gone once you've clicked that button. So you want to be able to then, and remember when I said at the start of this, write down everything you do. Yes, within your ads manager, it will say the history. You made this change on this day. So it will say within your campaign, you upped the budget from 50 to 300 on X date. It won't tell you why, right? It'll have a recording of you upping the budget. But if things don't pan out the way you thought, you don't know why you upped that budget. So even in simple terms where you're making campaign adjustments, you want to understand why you made a change. And it might just be, right, if I've got 2 audiences and I've sent similar amounts of clicks to both, and my cost per acquisition on audience 2 is double that of audience 1, I'm turning off audience 2. But again, if you are 6 weeks in the future and you're looking back at that campaign, you need to understand why you turned that audience off, because it's going to take you ages to find out otherwise, unless you've got a nice set of notes that say, this is what I did, why I did it. And then you'll be able to go, right, okay, that one was achieving. Maybe it hadn't learned enough. Let's switch that audience back on and test. Does it now convert at a better rate if I split that audience back out into a separate ad group? So there are a load of things in play. Patience is the number 1 tip, and don't tinker. Don't get fiddly, and understand how much or how little you want to spend. So, a good place to start if you are unfamiliar with YouTube ads, a good place is to start with exact match keywords. So be careful using broad match again. So, just like in normal search, if you stick broad matches in, your videos could be getting shown for all sorts of stuff. A prime example of that is we were working with a business that sells stages, as in performance stages that orchestras sit on or lectures are done from, right? Their keyword, they want to come up for stages. Right? But stages, are searched for the stage of the Tour de France, stages at school, stages of exams, all of these sorts of things, right? So you then have to start building loads of negative keywords into that, and you don't really want to start doing that with YouTube, because it's a lot of hard work for a start, right? So if you start with exact match keywords, and that might be your competitors' website brands. It might be a phrase that is very, very specific to what you do. And then start there and don't bid too high. Now, this is like, well, so if we jump back a sec, when you come onto YouTube and Google Ads, it will say use smart bidding. Don't use that, whatever you do, because that is like the boost button on Facebook, right? And Google is actively campaigning to get as many people as they can onto YouTube ads, because they see this being bigger than search ads.
Yeah.
Don't use smart campaigns. Go to the top, click the little wagon wheel, the tools icon, and choose advanced mode. Right, that opens you up all of the possibilities that you can then use in terms of bidding. Now, it will recommend bids. When you start a campaign, it will say, for example, bid 13 pence cost per click. Why do I want to bid that? Well, because Google says so. What I would say to you is start at 1 pence a click or 1 pence a view, right? And work your way up until you begin to get some traction and conversions, because it's like anything. Your ads will show in the better placements the higher you bid, obviously. Now, it then depends on how much competition there is, how many people are on YouTube with ads in your niche. But as it stands today, I can pretty much bet you probably your competition isn't there. And even if your competitors are there in YouTube ads, there is that much content out there that your potential clients are watching. You don't need to bid or outbid people. So like on normal PPC, you'd have to outbid somebody to come above them, or have a better quality ad or a higher converting landing page to supersede them in the ads. Whereas YouTube, you don't need to do that. What you need to do is bid low. And when you're creating the ads, there's a button that says use advanced strategies, right? That is where it will allow you to bid at a cost per click or a cost per view rather than CPM, so cost per 1,000 impressions. Obviously, lots of different campaign types. Some won't allow you to do that, and Google doesn't really want us bidding on a cost per click with YouTube or a cost per view, because you're sort of circumventing the system. I'm bidding at that point for the open space. And when you look at the numbers of videos that are there that are monetized, that don't serve ads, or they serve a non-relevant ad. So if you look at the ads for something like Monday.com, right? It's everywhere, right? Because I'm a marketeer, and a lot of the people watching this are marketeers. They're probably seeing ads for Monday.com. Is it relevant? Probably not. But I'm skipping. So it's not costing them anything. So their approach is they've got massive brand awareness. We're skipping, fine. I would take the approach that I would much rather the ad goes in front of somebody that is going to engage and watch. Because from your perspective, Vince, what you've told us and taught us is the engagement rate matters enormously. And just with Google traditional PPC, the quality of the ad matters. How people engage with it. If people are clicking and skipping all the time, Google's not going to continue to serve it because they're not getting paid. So I know we go on about the ads are free if people skip. Well, you can't sort of run an ad that's skipped all the time, because Google's going to get the hump and say, well, come on, guys, you're not playing the game. We need to earn, right? So getting an ad, and I've said this before, an ad that's not an ad works really well sometimes. That we're not there to be sold to, and one of the tactics we've used is a pattern interrupt. So you can obviously within YouTube choose where ads are shown in terms of placements, and there's a lot of tools out there. The one I use is called Vidnetics. That tool allows me to choose certain channels. Now, if I was going to run a campaign, let's say for you, Vince, and it was about the YouTube course that you run and how to rank, I would be looking for placements where people are searching, how do I get subscribers? growing your channel, all of these types of videos. How do I rank? There's loads of people talking about YouTube marketing, right?
Yeah.
So I may well choose to run your ad into those monetized channels. Now, if somebody's busy watching somebody teaching them about YouTube marketing, and then Vince comes on and he's talking about how to rank videos on YouTube, and he's not selling, he's just teaching, right? That's a pattern interrupt. Now, that person has gone from consuming a piece of content they wanted to consume to wanting to consume your content even more, even though it's an advert.
Yeah.
And they're now getting educated, they're building trust, they're giving you the engagement. Yes, you're paying, right? You're paying 1 or 2 cents maybe for them to be engaged. And the other thing is there's no limit to how long that ad can be. That ad could be 20 minutes long. So you could go for 20 minutes. It's almost like you're serving them a webinar, right? Within an ad, but they don't see it as an ad. So they're seeing added value. I'm learning. Oh, who is this guy? Right. Oh, now I'm exploring. I've been on his video for 2 or 3 minutes. I can see links. I can learn more. I can sign up. Right. That's where it works really well. But if we jump into, and I'm sorry I'm going on and on and on about this, but hopefully you can see I get excited about this sort of stuff. Imagine an ad that's 10 minutes long and people are watching Vince for 10 minutes. The people that have watched 7 or 8 minutes of that, we can target just them. So the people that have engaged for a certain amount. Now, if you install Tag Manager and you measure on a particular video, and I want people who have watched 75% of this particular video, and then I build them into a remarketing audience, that's when you go for the sell. Now, you can go education, trust, then another video, and then at the end you could go sell. Now, what you can see is the second and third videos, so you can serve people a series of content. So rather than just like on Facebook, for example, serving up the same ad all the time, we've all seen it, you know, when you've gone to somebody's website, Vince, and you know who I'm talking about here, you've gone to somebody's website, right? And you cannot get away from the person to the point at which there are people moaning on his, you know, on every time he now posts something, everybody jumps on and goes, won't you just go away, right? That's not how you do remarketing. What you need to do is you build the trust, you serve another video. Now, you can take a choice at that point. You can say, if somebody skips the second video, we'll serve them this piece of content. If they watch the second video, they get this piece of content. And you build that funnel out to the point at which you can get to where literally people pick the phone up and go, I want it. Or they press the buy button without you ever speaking to them. And then you get to an almost guaranteed cost per acquisition figure. And once you've got to, for example, we know to sell a course is $35, right? You can scale it properly then. And Google will then allow you to up your budget. And when you are upping these budgets, don't go from $50 to $500, however tempting it is in a day. Increment them like you would do on Facebook. Maybe go up 15%, 10 or 15% every other day. Slowly creep the budget up. Make sure that cost of acquisition doesn't fall off a cliff. Pay attention to how long the campaign's been live and watch whether it is going to dive at some point. Because once you get to spending thousands a day, the temptation then is to almost be on there and watch it live. And you know, we've got people who've, like, I've had clients where, you know, they phone me up 2 hours later. We've spent $500. I haven't had a phone call. Well, calm down. It's going to happen, right? It does happen. You can't be, you know. And then people who switch the campaign off, and then they go, right, 3 days later, right, let's start again. Well, you've now got to start again from the start. So please, you know, don't do that sort of thing. Let it learn, make your notes, understand why you've done certain things, and then creep the budget up and scale it. So, you know, I think the key takeaways from there is don't overbid at the start, be patient, set your tracking up properly, watch. And when I'm talking about tracking and conversions, when you start out, your conversion action won't necessarily be sale, right? Yes, we want to go to sale, but you're teaching Google the type of people we want on the site. So you might actually go, initial conversion is to get somebody on the site and get them to watch the landing page video. So we'll treat that as worth X amount to us. Now, I know we're about to jump into some more complicated stuff here, but if your course sells for $199 or $197, right? Your eventual goal is $197. We want to know for $30, we get $197 back, right? Now, Google, when you're setting the conversions up, will ask you, what is a conversion worth? The temptation is to put in 197. Now you've just pulled your pants down and told Google exactly what your business model is. Now in that scenario for 197, I would actually encourage you to set the initial conversion at probably half that. So at like 99, nice. Because Google is going to say, well, if you take Amazon, Facebook, any other advertising platform, eBay, all of them have a model where they will take 15 to 20% of your business, regardless, right? That's what they think it's worth to be on their platform. And they'll take more if you let them, right? So Google is going to go, right, so Vince is selling a product here for 97 and he'll be prepared to give us about $20 to get that sale, we think. Now, if you tell them 197, your conversions, surprisingly enough, might be coming in at $40. But what you need to do is teach Google what a conversion is worth. So your initial conversion in that scenario is not the sale. It might be, like I say, land someone on the page, get them to watch a video or fill a form in or submit their email or something like that, right? Just to get them on the list. Now, to get somebody on the list, we might set that as a $3 or $4 conversion, because we know if we get 20, 30 people onto the list, we get a sale. So we want to teach Google in the first instance, this is a good thing, getting someone on the site, and they do something. So someone comes on the site, they don't do something, that's not a conversion. We probably don't want that type of conversion in our campaign. We want to optimize for, first off, people coming on, engaging, and then we'll teach that group. Once we've got 100 or so of that type of conversion, we can spin out lookalike audiences around those people. Plus we can then teach Google, right, now we've got this core group of, this is where we know where this type of person comes from. Now we can teach it the full conversion of the sale and then bring that in as another conversion action and then grow the campaign from there to the point of where we only go to, right, now we're running traffic and the only conversion is the sale. And that's when you can really scale it. But but look, be patient and cut out the bad placements. That's what we do with IDAR. Watch out for the bot traffic in terms of fraudulent clicks. That's another one. But sorry, I've banged on for ages.
I love it, actually. Yeah, I'm sure, guys, you took lots of notes, and I'm pretty sure you also have questions, guys. So again, if you want to reach out to Simon, make sure you go to www.s.media, then LinkedIn, everything he said. I'm going to put everything in just below this video, so different links, different buttons. So you can reach out to Simon and ask for more help if you want and need, okay? Thank you so much for all the value you gave us, Simon. Really appreciate it. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you soon in other videos and somewhere else on the internet. Thank you, Simon.
Yeah, appreciate the time, and nice to meet everybody, and I hope to hear from you soon.
Awesome. Bye-bye. Take care.
See you. Bye-bye.